So the Until Dawn movie is supposed to come out in April 2025. There's not a whole lot of information about this movie. There are some cast members who have been mentioned, but I feel like there's a lot of unknowns to this movie. What parts of the game are going to be in the movie, how much of the game is going to be in the movie, whether or not the movie is going to follow the story of the game of Until Dawn. But a lot of people are curious about what this movie is going to keep in the story and what it's going to change. Hopefully it doesn't change too much. Obviously, because the game is so long, if you're going to make a movie of it, you're not going to be able to include a lot of that story in the movie. So a lot of things are obviously going to be cut. I'm just curious if there's going to be things changed. But before things start to come out for the movie, like the trailer or just news in general, I'm going to make a prediction of what I think is going to be the entire story of this movie, who's going to die because I don't think everyone's going to survive, what's going to happen to all these characters, like what choices they're going to make. Whenever it's like a big choice, what are they going to make? I mean, the entire premise of Until Dawn is the fact that it's a choose your own adventure, so there's so many different choices that you can make while playing this game, and the fact that the movie is not going to be able to do that, and it's just going to be one story, there's so many different options that they have to go with. Who is Chris going to choose to saw in half? Will Ashley wander alone in the mines? Will Josh become a Wendigo? There's so many different options that could happen, specifically when it comes to which characters die and how they die. So I'm going to be going through a baseline of what I think the movie will be. I'll come up with an outcome for each character that I think will happen. Obviously, I have no real information about what's going to happen in this movie. This is all just prediction, and I could be very wrong. But I think if the movie was to go like this, I think it'd be the best way to make Until Dawn into a movie. Of course, I would love all the characters to survive, but if you're thinking of a traditional horror movie, usually, like, there's a lot of deaths. And so I'm going to be talking about which characters I think are expendable and which characters I think should live till the end. Before I begin, obviously I'm going to be spoiling the game pretty heavily, so if you have not played it, or you're just wanting to watch the movie and you don't know the story at all and you don't want to know anything, I would not watch this video. Even though Until Dawn is a choose your own adventure, there are a bunch of things that have to happen for the story to go, even in the game. Like, there's some things you just can't avoid no matter what you do. So when it comes to the opening scene with Beth and Hannah and all of them doing the prank, I believe this will still be in the movie and this will all go as it does. Obviously, like, gameplay wise, there won't be any gameplay. I think they would just start with the prank and then have Beth run into the woods, and then Hannah and Beth do end up falling off the cliff. I don't think any of that's gonna change. I don't think anything like big will be different, except that, like, there just won't be any gameplay. And that's kind of a similar idea to what, like, all the scenes will be from the movie, because you're not gonna be having any gameplay in the movie. I do believe that nothing will change here, where they will do the prank, Hannah will get offended, Hannah will run out in the woods, Beth will go try to save her, and they will both end up falling off the cliff. The only choice that you kind of make in this section is whether to drop Hannah early or let go. I don't think this will even, like, be a big deal, but I would assume that she would not drop Hannah, that her and Hannah will fall together, if that's even, like, important enough to note. I don't think there's a lot that needs to be changed with this opening scene. I think it's really good as it is. Throughout Until Dawn, there's a bunch of Dr. Hill sequences where you go and meet Josh's therapist, and you go there as Josh, but you don't know you're playing as Josh. When it comes to putting this aspect in the movie, if I were making it, I probably just would cut Dr. Hill, because I don't think you even need to have him. We do know that the guy who plays Dr. Hill is going to be in this movie, so maybe after the events or before they go to the mountain, there will be a scene with Josh at his therapy session, and just, like, for a second, and then he, like, leaves, and then he goes to the mountain, and then that's when he invites everyone over. But I don't see Dr. Hill being a huge part of this movie. I don't see it, like, being as present as it is in the game. If there is anything, I would say just a therapy session right before they go to the mountain. Other than that, I think it'll just be, like, his voice in Josh's head. Like in that final scene in the game where Josh is losing his mind and you can hear Dr. Hill in his head, I think that will probably be the extent of Dr. Hill in the movie. Nothing real really happens for a long time in the game at this point, where they all go to the mountain, They all have their introductions, they all run into each other, they fight a little bit. There's no really big choices that happen here that are even worth mentioning because it'll just go on with like them meeting each other. Chris and Sam might run into each other. I don't even think they'll involve the choice where you shoot the squirrel, like whether or not you're gonna shoot it, because there's no point. Or whether you throw the snowball at the bird, like that, those things may happen, but it's not like a huge deal. It won't change anything. Josh will get offended when they're hearing the ghosts of his sisters and he'll run off. I think all of this will be very similar and just they'll cut like a bunch of the gameplay, which will save time.
I don't know if you think messing with me is somehow going to help me deal with my grief or whatever, but this is not cool.
Josh, no! You wanted to use the spirit board!
Hey, calm down. It's not Ash's fault.
I don't need this right now, okay? You guys are full of it.
The first real thing that happens is while Jessica and Mike are at the cabin, Jessica gets taken by a Wendigo and Mike has to go run after her. I do think that they'll go to the cabin. I do think Jessica will be the first one taken like it is in the game. And I do believe that she will die in this moment. I think Mike will try to go find her and he'll find her either being ripped up by a Wendigo or she's already dead. I believe she's gonna be the first death of this movie, and I don't think she really serves a purpose after this moment. She's a good opening kill. It's unfortunate. I really like Jessica, actually. I know a lot of people don't, but she can definitely die here, and there's no other reason for her not to.
Jessica! No! Oh, God!
And then Mike will go off to the sanatorium and find, like, some information, probably. The next big thing that happens is Ashley and not really Josh, but what they think it's Josh, get taken by the psycho and they're put next to the saw, and Chris has to choose who he will save. I believe that he will save Ashley because that makes more sense than him trying to save Josh and then Josh ends up dying anyway. Josh will get sawed in half here, but I do think that he will choose to save Ashley. He'll feel bad about what he did, and then him and Ashley will go on to find all the clues that they do about Josh being the psycho and about him being upset about the death of his sisters. While Mike is at the sanatorium, the only big thing that can happen is there's this bear trap moment where he goes up to a bear trap and he gets his fingers caught in it and he can have the choice to cut off his fingers or not. I don't think this will even be in the movie because they don't have time to do this bit, but if they were to do it, I believe that he would cut off his fingers. But my prediction is that he won't because he'll never even run into the bear trap. I see no purpose in adding this into the movie. Like, there's so many other more important things, but that is a pretty big decision in the game, so I do think that that would be a fun moment. I just don't think there's any time. The next big scene is Sam getting chased by the psycho. I do believe that this will happen. I believe she will run into the psycho and find out about Josh getting sawed in half, and I do believe that she will be caught, she will be gassed, and she will be knocked out, and they will find her later in the basement tied up. I don't see any reason to not get her caught here because she doesn't have to die, and if she's not caught, they have to add another scene of her exploring, which they just don't have time for, and it gives away that Josh is the psycho. So instead of giving all that away, like when you're playing a game, it makes sense because you earned all those clues. They would want more of a shock value when Josh is revealed as the psycho. So I really do believe that they will have this chase scene, obviously shorter, but I do believe she'll be caught in the end. Moving on to Emily and Matt, they will go up to the fire tower, they will get knocked over in the fire tower, and I'm a little unsure of the decision that will be had here because I do believe that Matt will die at this point in the movie to where they fall off the fire tower. I'm not exactly sure how it will be done though, whether or not they'll keep it the same or whether they would like make a new death. Matt doesn't really serve a purpose in the game beyond this, specifically if Jessica is no longer alive. I don't think that final scene with Jessica and Matt should play out because they don't have the time, and the only reason they have that is because in the game they want you to have those characters survive. I don't even think Jessica was supposed to survive Until Dawn, and they changed that so that you could have all the characters live. This is Matt's last chance to die before that scene would come up, so he has to die here. if they're going to kill him off. Of course, they could always have the option to have Matt, like, meet them back at the cabin at some point, but there's no way for me to predict exactly how that would work. So I'm just going along with what they actually do in the game. And in the game, I believe that he would try to save Emily, and then he ends up dying probably to a Wendigo. I would say it would be similar to his death when he gets caught on the hook.
Get off! Get off! No! Let go! Let go!
Whether or not they would show the Wendigo or actually have it be the Wendigo, or he just dies trying to save Emily, which I think would be a very fitting death for him. Kind of lame, but fitting death. I do believe that he will be the second death of the movie, and he will die when the tower falls, and Emily will fall into the mines, where she can then find all the clues about Beth and Hannah and what happened. Going back to Chris and Ashley, they will get caught by the psycho and will then be put in the other Saw game of Chris trying to choose who he's gonna shoot. As good as the drama would be for Chris to shoot Ashley and then her lock him out on the porch, like, that would just be so devastating. I don't think that would be a good decision for the game to make. I think that Ashley and Chris should get together in the movie. So I believe that Chris will end up shooting himself. I don't think he'll even wait. I think he'll choose to shoot himself and it won't work because it's a blank. And then obviously after this, Josh will be revealed as the psycho. I do believe that he is going to be the psycho in the movie. That's just a perfect fake twist that they can throw in, and it's like, there's no other option besides that, so.
I hope you appreciated my little phantasmagorical spectacle. I mean, no detail too small, no opportunity missed. It was such a delight to play the puppet master.
With Emily wandering in the mines, I do think that this section will be cut severely, but I do think she'll find Beth's head. I think she'll find, like, Hannah's glasses or whatever little clues she finds in that moment. It'll just be really shortened, and she will be chased by the Wendigo. But I don't think Emily dies here. I think her character is still needed, and Emily has a lot of deaths that she can have in this scene that they could go with, but I don't think that she dies here. I think her surviving this chase is really necessary for the game and whatever the movie will be. I think that her character still serves a purpose. I do believe that she will get bit because I think that scene should play out. But I don't think it's a good decision to kill her here because they need to hear that reaction to the monsters. Everyone back at the cabin needs to hear what she's trying to tell them. And I think that's a really special chase scene that I think is ruined a little bit if she dies. So Emily will make it back to the lodge. She'll tell the group about the Wendigos, try to explain them what it is, and the flamethrower guy, I do believe, will do the explanation of what the Wendigos are.
There is a curse that dwells in these mountains. Should any man or woman resort to cannibalism in these woods, the spirit of the Wendigo shall be unleashed. Oh, crap.
Obviously, I believe that the Wendigos have to be in this movie. If they're not, then it's not Until Dawn. If Josh isn't the psycho, it's not Until Dawn. Like, those two things have to happen, or else I'll be very disappointed. Like, there's no reason to change either of those things. They find out about the Wendigos. Chris decides to go save Josh because they did tie him up in the shed. I believe that him and Ashley will have their moment before Chris goes out, specifically because I do think that Chris will die in this sequence. I don't see a purpose for his character after this moment. That's kind of what I'm going off of, is like whether or not their character is needed to make the story interesting, and I don't think Chris is really needed after this chase scene. I think he'll go, the flamethrower guy will die early, he'll try to make it back, and he'll die right at the porch for Ashley to see, and it'll be really sad because they got together right before this moment, and I don't see a reason to keep him around. This will be really sad for Ashley, but at least they'll be able to get together before he dies. And also, I don't really think Ashley's gonna make it either, which I'll get to in a second, but I don't think there's any point in keeping Chris alive for the rest of the movie. Because I said I think Emily gets bit, that does mean that she would go down to the basement and they would have that moment where they decide whether or not they would like to shoot her.
Oh my god, oh my god,
It's nothing.
god.
It bit me and bit you. What bit you?
The Wendigo.
What?
It's nothing, really. It's not a big deal.
I personally love this scene, but I find the death extremely lame. Like, him shooting Emily at this point would just be so irritating. I think watching the movie and watching him shoot Emily when no one wants him to do that, even as annoying as Emily is, like, we all know that she's gonna be okay. Like, at least I knew when I first played the game. I don't think that would be a smart decision to kill her in this moment with shooting her in the basement. They will have the bit where they're like deciding whether or not to shoot her, but he won't end up shooting her. I still think her character will push the story along too. I think if she's shot there, then it's just like really anticlimactic. I like it better if she's not shot and then Ashley is reading the journal and finds out that it doesn't affect her, and then Emily gets mad at Ashley. I think that's a better outcome than Emily just dying here. Nothing really happens for a while. Mike goes to the sanatorium. I don't even know if they need him to go to the sanatorium again. They could just like have him somehow release the Wendigos earlier when he's already at the sanatorium. They could cut that to one part. But he could go off and wander and try to find a way out. I don't know. He could be looking for Josh. Nothing really big happens. The next big thing that happens is when Ashley gets stranded in the mines. I do think this moment will happen where she's hearing someone. Maybe not Jessica because we'll know she's dead. But maybe it is Jessica. And I do believe that she will go and wander off and find the trapdoor and open it and die there. I do think that this is also a lame death. I just don't see a point for Ashley to survive. I feel like this one, out of all the ones I'm saying, is one that could change. I think she could just decide to not follow it. I think it's more interesting for a movie if she does decide to go follow the voice, and then if she follows the voice and she goes, never mind, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I think this death is a scary moment that they could have in the movie, and her character doesn't really serve a purpose after this moment. So she's already lost Chris. There's no reason to keep her alive for that. And I think that would be a really scary scene that they could have. Okay, so we're heading towards the end of the movie. I think everything will be pretty normal. Sam and Mike will run into each other. Emily will, I guess, head back to the lodge or something. I'm not sure. Maybe they keep Emily with Mike and Sam because she's the only one left. And I don't know why she would go back to the lodge instead of just staying with Sam. I think that would be an interesting choice if they just had that whole sequence with Sam and Mike and just add Emily there. I do kind of like that moment with Sam and Mike because it shows their leadership and like their bond in all those moments where they're finding Hannah's journal and finding Josh. So I would probably say that Emily should just go back to the cabin, but I could see them adding her to that group because there's nothing else for her to do. But I'm gonna say she goes back to the cabin. Sam and Mike run into each other. They go and find Hannah's journal. They run into Josh. Josh ends up getting taken by the Wendigo, but I do not believe he dies. I think we realize that Hannah is the Wendigo, and so does he. It's a lot more interesting to have the finale with Josh becoming a Wendigo than it is to have him die. I think that is like a perfect moment and conclusion to his character, as sad as it is, because it just gives him like the worst karma possible, and he has everything handed back to him. There's no need to have a final scene with Jessica and Matt because I do believe they're both dead. You go to the cabin where they run into Emily, and Mike and Sam and Emily, who's not very helpful because Emily, I do think, survives. I think she'll just run out of the cabin without thinking about the others. I feel like Emily's a character that should survive the movie because she's so unlikable, and then she kind of grows on you and you're like, why is she still around? I really think that she should survive this movie. I personally really like Emily, and she's already survived so much up to this point. I feel like it's so disappointing to kill her in this final scene. I think killing anyone in this final scene is really disappointing. So I do think that she'll be the first one to escape the lodge and that she'll survive the movie. Maybe this won't happen. I do think I might be wrong about this. I could see her getting shot in the basement, but I really hope she survives the movie, and my prediction is that she does. I believe that final scene kind of plays out exactly as it does in the game, where they hit the light switch and let the gas release and blow up the lodge. Then obviously I do believe that Mike and Sam work together to put their plan in motion and blow up the lodge, and I do think that they both survive. Mike gets out of the lodge next, and then Sam has her moment where she runs the light switch and blows up the cabin. I I think that Emily, Mike, and Sam are the only survivors of this movie. I would love it if they would show their police interviews like during the credits. I don't think that'll happen because I just don't think that works with a movie. I think that after the helicopter comes and they're all picked up, Josh will be shown in the mines as a Wendigo, because I did say earlier that he is taken and not killed. I do think that will be the last shot of the movie, is them going down the mines trying to find Josh, and he's turned into a Wendigo. Anyway, that's all my predictions for the Until Dawn movie. I'm really excited to see what choices they do. I kind of hope I'm wrong about some of my choices, because then it would be really predictable, but I do really hope that Sam, Mike, and Emily will all survive the movie. I'm pretty confident that Sam and Mike will. It's more of like, who else? I could also see them having Ashley survive, because I could see her not wandering off of those mines and staying with the group and then running out in the lodge during that last scene. But there's literally so many different things that you could predict, because there's so many different outcomes of this game. So I'm curious to hear what other people think of what their predictions are for this movie. I haven't really looked up a bunch of information on it because I don't want to know exactly what's going to happen. These are all just theories. Once the trailer comes out, I'll obviously watch the trailer to see what's in it and see if I can find any clues. But I don't really want to know exactly what happens, because I'm so excited to get to see it and find out what choice they've made. Hopefully they don't ruin it and kill like Emily too early, because that would be stupid. But anyway, that's all my predictions for the day. Goodbye!